Hi everyone, thanks for stopping by and seeing what I'm up to. My name is Silkyfeather and you can call me Silky. Meet Kevin has an update. Says second stimulus and the state of the stimulus. Update number 1.
Hey everyone, me Kevin here. Nancy Pelosi responded to Donald Trump's assertion that he would sign a $1.3 trillion stimulus proposal. We'll review that, and I'm going to review the state of stimulus and the path forward in this video. We'll focus on some good news. Quick reminder, the coupon code for the How to Make Money from Home Making YouTube videos and all of the Investing in Money courses expires in less than 48 hours. First, Nancy Pelosi told Republicans that she refuses to have further discussions with Republicans until Republicans agree to a $2.2 trillion package. Now, this is not exactly the best good news that we want to hear. It's hardlining, it's brinksmanship. Unfortunately, this is very common in Congress. And what's fascinating is, and this is something to take away, is Nancy Pelosi said, I'm not backing off the HEROES Act. I'm not backing off the $3.4 trillion. Okay, maybe we'll do $3 trillion, but I'm not backing off that. Then she said, okay, we'll come down $1 trillion, but I'm not backing off that.
Excuse me.
And now she came down another $200 billion from $2.4 trillion to $2.2 trillion, and she's saying the same thing. In other words, the trend is in our favor. Every time Nancy Pelosi refuses to come down more, she comes down more. So, what's the path forward? What are the 3 likely paths forward that we're going to see, and what are the odds of each of them? Let's break it down. Scenario number 1. Republicans pass their own stimulus bill, including unemployment pay at $400 per week, PPP funding, the Paycheck Protection Program. Probably we're expecting that to only be for businesses whose revenues have declined, say 25 to 35%. Working capital loans with the SBA, some tax credits, $105 billion for schools, which both sides agree on, $10 billion for the post office, liability protections, and somewhere around $45 billion for testing, tracing, and treatments. Republicans have also expressed their openness to fund state and local governments with around another $100 to $150 billion. But remember, Democrats want about $940 billion. In scenario number 1, I expect Democrats and Republicans will negotiate stimulus checks in addition to the other items mentioned and potentially bringing in that state and local government funding, possibly bringing it up from around $140, $150 billion to maybe something more in the middle to get something done now. And remember, Nancy Pelosi was the one who said that that might be likely. She's the one who said she might wait to get state and local government funding until January. So the fact that she's hardlining is really just her pattern of making her offer smaller and smaller. Come down, makes offer smaller. This is consistent, folks. Anyway, this would lead to a bill or some sort of stimulus compromise package passing around the end of September. That's not when we want to hear about it, but it's good that it's likely to come then, because that would mean checks would go out early to mid-October, which is conveniently right before an election. This to me seems about 50% likely, given that Republicans and Democrats and the majority of politicians are interested in another round of stimulus checks because it's good for an election, it's fast and targeted stimulus, it's easy to do, and relative to other things, it doesn't cost that much money. This seems very likely to me, at least 50% likely, with some deviations, which we're going to talk about now. Scenario number 2. And this is where we get into the market-based scenarios. Scenario number 2 has the market improving and then Democrats caving, which kind of they've been on that slippery slope already. And so here's what that means. If market data continues to improve on the economy, jobless claims, unemployment, and consumer spending, Democrats may end up caving and accepting Republicans' smaller deal at around 1.3 to maybe a slightly up negotiated bill of maybe 1.4 or 1.5 trillion, including likely stimulus checks, creating this compromise bill. This will likely happen also around the end of September, and those checks would arrive sometime in mid to early October, hopefully early. Remember, Treasury Secretary Mnuchin says he just needs 1 week.
So sorry, guys.
Out the door. This, to me, seems 20% likely, mostly because it's possible that economic data may not improve. Scenario number 3. Market data declines, and instead of Democrats caving, Republicans cave. If market data worsens on the economy, jobless claims, unemployment, and consumer spending, then Republicans will likely cave and accept a larger, maybe $1.8 to $2.2 trillion stimulus package. Probably slightly off 2.2 to make them feel like they got something, so say 1.8 to maybe $2 trillion as a package. This, in my opinion, will also likely happen in late September, where we'll also see stimulus checks coming in early to mid-October. Now, here's what's cool about this. So far, all three of these scenarios lead us with stimulus checks by early to mid-October. Again, it's later than when we need it.
Also, a banging freaking costume. I mean, come on. 1500 should be getting you a hell of a costume. Right in time. Give me a break. This money was needed a long time ago.
$1,200 honestly isn't enough. We need more, but at least it's something, and everything is pointing to this time frame now. There is, though, a fourth scenario, and that makes up the remaining 10%. And that's that nothing gets done this year. In other words, we have to wait for a stimulus package until January, which means my beard's going to be very long, because remember, I said I wouldn't shave until we get another stimulus package. So Lauren, my wife, and I have some incentive to see a stimulus package get done by early October, because this thing's getting itchy already. Anyway, in the 10% scenario that nothing gets done, we'll likely see a government shutdown as well, which means we'll start 2021 much better than this year, and we'll start with a government shutdown, more political brinksmanship, and a new Congress and potentially a new White House, and then maybe we'll get something done. In my opinion, scenario number 4, even though we'll have to wait until January, which would mean that would be a birthday present for me, I do not believe is highly likely. That's why I only believe it's 10% likely, mostly because there is a lot of enthusiasm to get a stimulus check out prior to the election. Remember, whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, you're fighting your Republican or Democrat contender who's trying to take your seat. Getting a stimulus check out as an incumbent helps you get reelected. That means everybody in Congress right now wants to see another check. Everyone outside of Congress doesn't want to see another check. Now, there are some few holdouts that we can quote and say, oh, well, Ted Cruz doesn't want another stimulus check, or Rand Paul doesn't want another stimulus check. But that's okay. We're always going to have the fringe voters. Now, I personally believe with 66 days to the election and the next congressional session beginning September 8th, we are very likely to see progress in September. I believe we're 90% likely to see a bill negotiated in one of the 3 first scenarios that I mentioned. Either a compromise meet in the middle bill, or, and that would be with modest economic data, or we'll see worsening or improving data, giving either Democrats or Republicans the edge. This means, based on all the research we've done on this channel, I believe we have a 90% likelihood of seeing a compromise within the next 31 days. I believe this is some good news. By the way, if we get a stimulus package of around $1.5 trillion, stimulus checks should be easy to include. Donald Trump has already said on behalf of Republicans he's open to signing a $1.3 trillion package. That's very, very close. This is also some good news. Furthermore, the White House continues to suggest that a payroll tax cut will largely benefit Americans, though few businesses have agreed to take this temporary deferral. The allowance to take the deferral started yesterday. My expectation is very few businesses are going to take this deferral up, which will finally send a signal to the White House and Republicans, the payroll tax cut is not working. Let's do the stimulus checks instead. On unemployment, Kentucky, Montana, and West Virginia have all agreed to issue the $100 boost on top of the $300 boost coming from FEMA funds for the temporary unemployment relief via Donald Trump's executive order. D.C., Kansas, Nebraska, and North Dakota have still not applied for the unemployment program. This is very good news, though. So far, most states have applied. Furthermore, the Abbott Labs test, per former FDA Commissioner Dr. Scott Gottlieb, may become a popular tool outside of not just schools, but also businesses and restaurants in the near future. Now, the tests technically do need to be administered by a medical technician. However, many believe that businesses could easily charge some sort of cover charge for coming into, let's say, a bar or a restaurant. And remember, you only need to take the test once every so often, and then you could use the app and go patronize other businesses to show that you've been tested. There, in theory, could also become stations at like malls or downtown areas to basically consolidate the process. This is good news. In other good news, a Nevada man became the first person in the United States to catch COVID twice. Scientists say the unnamed 25-year-old from Reno tested positive for COVID on April 18th. And then on May 31st, he had symptoms of COVID again. 5 days later, he was hospitalized after the condition worsened and tested positive for COVID again. Now, I will say it's kind of odd that it took so long for us to realize that and report that, but hey, at least now we know it does look like it's possible to catch COVID twice, which isn't exactly the best news, but it's good news to know about to protect yourself. All right, folks, thank you so much for watching. If you've liked this, please consider sharing.
Please do. Share, like, and subscribe. Like I said, I won't be doing his thing after we get our monies, so I'm really honing into trying to get it down to one niche, and it's very difficult for me because I have a variety of things that I am into, as you guys know. But, isn't that cute? That's a temporary tattoo. Isn't that wicked? And it's gold, silver, and black. I love it. Got it for $1, Dollar General. And I'll tell you a secret. What I usually do is these decals come off with water. So you could literally put this on, let's say like this tin if you wanted to. And then you have to seal it with a sealer. And Mod Podge sells a dishwasher safe sealant. So, like this one I use for my E6000 glue. So that's like in there. You can see it like slowly move. Yep, smells good, like E6000. Just as long as I don't get it in the oh my goodness, the grooves of the screwer here. My goodness, I know this. The threads. Wow, I had like a serious brain fart, guys. Sorry about that. Check out this keychain I made. Isn't that cool? I love it. Yep, showing off my new bling. Actually, I got a set today. That's the necklace and that's the bracelet. And would you believe they sent it in a bubble envelope? This was, I mean, it's still quite bent, but it's nowhere near what it was. This was really crushed. And I'm usually raving about the people on Macari, but this woman, I'm kind of pissed how she sent it to me because she really did crazy damage to, you really can't tell from there, but I mean, had to be put in a vise and like straightened, so it damaged, it just damaged it, but it's wearable now. It wasn't when I got it. This was all caved in. And the thing is that, you know, I left her 3 stars because her packing was terrible. There's no reason for that. I have sent Asian rare hand-painted vases that were like frickin' paper thin to California, and they made it fine. It's just common sense. Yes, and I've got some of my artwork up behind me. So I'm boasting on my photography, my coloring skills, my paint pouring skills, And I am still working on that big old poster since 2016. That was a project me and my son took on a camping trip. And then I preserved it and taped it to a big piece of cardboard, and every now and then I sit down and start coloring the outside. I want to do the outside with all bright colors, and then the wolf in different levels of gray. I'm really excited about that. Alright, guys. Thank you. Like, subscribe, and share. Mwah, mwah, mwah. I love you all, and if you're new, welcome, welcome, welcome.